This is Everything Cambridge. My name is Sam and we have Oscar from the most amazing pizza restaurant in Cambridge, Oscar's Pizza. Welcome.
Thank you very much. That's a pleasure. Like, honestly, really nice to be here, and great to be on.
So we usually, our last guest basically provides a question for the next guest. So the one for you is, what was the thing that made you who you are today?
I think I think about this all the time, and I kind of go back to when I first started cooking, and when I first, I made like a pasta bake for my mum and sister, and it was literally just pasta with like some sausages and barbecue sauce, and then I put some cheese on top and melted it under the grill in the oven. And it was just so basic, but it tasted so good. And I was just like, had this euphoric feeling. And it was basically me realizing that I love to kind of cook for people. And I think that's been huge. And then I think about what is the reason that I love to cook for people, and what's the reason I kind of push so hard to kind of make things taste really good, and then why do I share it with so many people after rather than just keeping it to myself? And I think it's because when I learned to cook, I realized I could be useful, and also when I eat something that's really delicious, I kind of all my anxiety, I had a lot of anxiety when I was young, when I was a teenager, and all that anxiety just kind of melts away when you're eating something truly delicious that you've made. And I think the pizza business has allowed me to kind of share that with a lot of people. And just cooking, even when I was cooking at the beginning, just cooking for my mum and sister or whoever, you know, that's me kind of showing people that I love them, and just kind of, you know, kind of communicating with people in some way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Did you grow up in Cambridge then?
Yeah, so I grew up in Cambridge, yeah. I went to Chesterton, I went to Parkside, and I went to Long Road. And
I went to Long Road as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Small world.
Nice. How old are you?
25 next week.
25, okay. I'm 30, so I'm a little bit older. We probably missed each other.
Probably just about.
Yeah.
All right, so with Oscar's Pizza then, was this like your first business?
Yeah, so it was my first business, yeah. So we started in lockdown.
Yeah.
I went to university to study economics, and I think I just didn't really know what I wanted to do, so I kind of chose a subject that I deemed to be like good and like maybe have some potential to get a job. That's all I really kind of chose that for. But after university, it was time to apply for jobs, and I applied for all these banks and things like that. And I just really, like answering the questions on the applications, I just couldn't bring myself to be like dishonest and to say like I wanted to work in a bank, and I just really didn't want to, and I gave up and I kind of pursued other things. Yeah. I tried loads of stuff. Kind of after university, I loved cooking, so I was like, I need to investigate that. I worked as a chef for a while in fine dining. And it was kind of too hard, and I got a bit stressed out, so I kind of stopped that. I tried becoming like a videographer for a little bit, which is where I met Dom.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just tried loads of things. I was worried about climate change, and so I tried working on like a farm, and then I kept trying to cook stuff at the farm, so it was always coming back to the food. And during lockdown, I applied to loads of jobs, and I didn't get any. So I kind of realised I needed to start my own business and kind of create my own path. And it was obviously going to be something to do with food, and it was obviously going to be pizza, because I love to make pizza, and pizza's really, really popular. So it was just the place to start, really. And I was in at my parents' house during lockdown, and my dad said, "Do you want to make pizzas this Friday?" He just asked me, he said, "Do you want to make pizzas this Friday?" And I was like, "Yes, I'm going to do it." I was so nervous about starting a business. But from then on, every Friday I was there making pizzas, selling to friends and family and neighbours. I was promoting it on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Eventually got an Instagram page called Oscar's Lockdown Pizza. I followed everyone in Cambridge from similar businesses. And we got like 1,000 followers, and eventually we ended up on Food Stuff, which was an independent food delivery platform, a bit like Uber Eats and Deliveroo, but just for smaller businesses. And I was able to do delivery all over Cambridge.
And during lockdown as well, that is, you know, so helpful. In a way, it's actually lockdown. Starting a business in lockdown, it kind of it's contradiction. You wouldn't think it would, but it sounds like that kind of formula actually worked because you got on the delivery, and what was it kind of like setting up during lockdown during this time? Were there what were like the main pros and cons?
Well, I think at the end of the day there was an opportunity there because all of the restaurants were closed, and everyone had a lot of time on their hands, and Oscar's lockdown pizza kind of makes complete sense. A lot of people around the country were doing the same thing, and I think ultimately most people kind of felt during lockdown, oh, it's lockdown, we're not allowed to go out, so I'm not going to do anything. Whereas I was kind of like really wanted to use my opportunities, and kind of use my, lockdown is a weakness at the end of the day. Like, you're not allowed out the house, nothing happening, but to start a business and to be creative, you have to use your weaknesses to your advantage, if that makes sense. So it was the obvious thing to do. It was a great opportunity. Yeah.
Nice. Staying local, branding local for Cambridge. How did you find that?
I guess it's kind of the opposite. Like, again, using weaknesses to your advantage is kind of the opposite of being local. Is kind of the opposite of being Italian, if that makes sense. And so, yeah, I was making pizza, and I didn't really know how to make pizza, and how do you kind of communicate that your pizza's good with the people without going down the Italian route, if that makes sense? And local and food has always been like a good combination. But when it comes to pizza, I was just like, look, I'm not Italian, sort of thing, and I'm the kind of the opposite. I'm actually from Cambridge, so that was kind of the direction there. And people are kind of just choosing, like, where shall I buy my pizzas, and what's my favourite pizzeria? Oh, there's this local guy, and he's kind of doing his thing, and I felt like that was a really strong kind of strength of mine.
Yeah, I think especially with Cambridge, there's so many local independent businesses here, and it really helps to stand out. You don't really have many big kind of conglomerates, you've got the occasional McDonald's and stuff like that, but I think what is really special about Cambridge is that you have these local businesses and it's authentic, just like your place. I'd say, how did you find those first few months? So what was it, getting that kind of sense of word of mouth? How did that come about? How did you know your business was kind of picking up?
Well, I think we've always had a good word of mouth. I think that's always been something that, when I first did the pizzas on Friday night, we might have sold like 15, 20 pizzas or something like that. But then the next week we would sell like 30, and then the next week 40, and eventually we did 58 pizzas. So it was obvious that there was word of mouth, if that makes sense. Yeah. It was obvious that people were communicating that with each other. And I've always thought the word of mouth is really important.
Yeah.
And you have to sort of, what would people be saying? They'd be saying, oh, Oscar, there's this guy who's making pizzas from his house, and he like gives you the pizzas when you come to the door, and he's like really nice chap or whatever. And so it's kind of, I would always kind of really try to utilize word of mouth. And one thing that I did on purpose was I called the business Oscar's Lockdown Pizza. And a lot of people were like, oh, cool, yeah, Oscar's Lockdown Pizza, that makes sense. Clever, right? But then as lockdown came to an end and Boris Johnson was relaxing kind of all the limitations on going out and stuff like that, people were like, well, what are you going to do? Lockdown's almost over. People were really worried about me. They were like, your business is no longer going to make sense, and people are going to completely stop buying your pizzas as soon as lockdown's over. And I kind of just held... I honestly, I was listening completely to what they said, but I knew that just because something's annoying or not necessarily doesn't really make sense, doesn't mean that people will stop coming. It's quite the opposite, actually. It means that you'll stand out. Yeah. Because, if you imagine Go Compare, the adverts for Go Compare, they're so annoying, but when you want to compare insurance, you would just think of that. So there's nothing wrong with being slightly annoying, slightly off. And I knew that once people heard the name Oscar's Lockdown Pizza, they would never forget it. Whereas if I called it something else, like maybe a generic Italian name, you would just forget it instantly. You wouldn't even be able to remember. Even if someone put a gun to your head, you kind of say, oh, I can't remember the name of that pizzeria.
Yeah. Unique name really helps it to stand out, I think. When it's so imagine with this whole kind of reputation building about your place, I imagine social media and things like that. That was a big start, because nowadays with a business, you have to use social media for your promotion. So what kind of marketing strategies did you use when you were first beginning?
Can you repeat that question, sorry?
So what kind of marketing strategies were you implementing when you started your business?
So when I started from my house, I flyered every house in the neighbourhood, and I did an amazing flyer. I didn't put any photos on because I didn't have good photography of the pizzas. It's very hard to kind of have nice photography in the food world, so I was like, I just didn't put any. And then I kind of did Oscar's Lockdown Pizza. I made it quite colourful and exciting. I put emojis on there, like a little tomato emoji, a little basil emoji. So I made it all quite fun and kind of family friendly and exciting. And then I flyed every house in my neighbourhood, and I flyed every house like 4 times or something like that. So I was really trying to just hammer it home. Like I didn't really believe, I wasn't like worried about people being annoyed at me for flying them too much. I just knew that it takes a long time for the message to get there, if that makes sense. So you have to kind of be persistent and almost be like a bull in a china shop. Like I say that about everything, but you have to not worry about the consequences. You just have to kind of make a racket and get your name out there, and yeah. So and then we had the social media page, which was just obviously people were going to look at that. Oscar's Lockdown Pizza, 1,000 followers, and I would always post pictures of myself. We noticed very quickly that any post that had someone in there would get a lot more engagement. Also, any post that has actual news, like, oh, I've been doing this and it's really exciting and it feels like this and it's kind of like that, and genuine like kind of news and like giving people something and kind of sharing the journey with people was very effective. So then Oscar's Lockdown Pizza the brand became a lot about the journey and about how I felt about running the business, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Which is a very sort of modern sort of like way of branding a business. Like if you compare it to like the food businesses of old, which were all chains and things like that, they would kind of be more polished and there would be less sort of information there. But now it's all about like personalities and kind of what the lifestyle of running a pizza business, and people found that very engaging. So that was Instagram, and we did flyers, and that's pretty much it really. Definitely at the start, yeah. Yeah.
So the lifestyle of the pizza business, how could you summarise it in one sentence if you could?
I would say I would say.
Put it on the spot there.
No, I'm coming up with something. I'd say you get a lot of attention. People love pizza. You make a lot of people very happy, but you've got to be consistent and you've got to be there for them every day, and that can be quite stressful.
Yeah. And you, of course, have more experience working in other businesses around Cambridge as well, so you worked in the Blue Moon for a bit too.
I was doing the pizza business from my house, and then my parents were moving to Scotland, so I had to kind of find a place to put my pizza business.
Yeah.
And I was kind of really inspired by a lot of food businesses that were setting up in pubs and kind of renting that space. So I basically rang up every pub in Cambridge and asked them, can I put my pizza business in your pub and take the money as well? And a couple were kind of interested, and the Blue Moon said yes. They were doing pizzas themselves, and they kind of wanted to stop doing that and specialise more in the event side of things. And it was kind of like the luckiest thing ever, because the Blue Moon was in a really central location. They have amazing beer. They've got a great brand themselves, and it can fit a hell of a lot of people there. So it really was a dream come true.
Excellent. So of course, Oscar's Pizza's always had this very unique feel to it in Cambridge. How would you say you've maintained that kind of like unique magic over the last few years?
I think the first thing that's unique about Oscar's Pizza is that we have our own flavours. So like the average. You see that a lot with burger businesses. They can be quite innovative with the flavours, but with pizza, they're often kind of a set flavour list, if that makes sense. And it's what people want, fair enough. And then there's also all these Italian flavours. Like if you go to Italy and try the pizza, it's amazing, and they have these amazing ingredients. But then when an Italian business sets up in England, they do the same flavours, even though the ingredients are different. So one thing we do at Oscar's is we make our own flavours, and they're all kind of an expression of like my creativity and things pizzas I like to eat, and the food that's inspired me by growing up in Cambridge and being a local lad. So it's always been a reflection of what I like to eat, what I ate when I was young, what I think tastes nice, and I think people really appreciate that because they all have a similar view on the situation.
Yeah, and that seems like a really enjoyable process as well, like thinking all these different ingredients. And that's what's, must be so fun about being a chef. It is actually really creative, right? With you're making so many different recipes, so many different flavors and different combinations. What's the process like? Do you literally like sit down one day and you're like, this is what I'm going to think of in this piece, or just come naturally during the day and then you write it down, or
a mix of things really. So the bulk of the menu that we have now, we've got the classic, the umami, sweet and smoky, the you-what. All of those pizzas, I just made them up. Like I'd cook pizzas a bunch of times for my family.
Yeah.
And then there would always be ingredients about, and I kind of just throw them on, and then a few of the pizzas like really hit home. Like I was like, that's delicious, and my brother, who's really picky, was like, that's absolutely delicious, and so you kind of get these flavors. And then I had so much creativity and drive at the start of the pizza business that I just wrote the whole menu on my bed almost, and it all came together so easily. But I think that was kind of a built up kind of creative surge, if that makes sense, that I've been kind of dying to do. But then when the pizza business got started, I was so busy and stressed that I couldn't come up with any more flavors combination. I was like, how did I come up with all the flavors just all at the same time, and I can't come up with any more like a year later?
It's like a kind of equivalent to writer's block. Suddenly you don't have anything, and then you just have all these ideas filling out, and then
I always think of it as like a rapper. Like when you're a rapper and you start out and you're actually like in the streets and stuff, like the bars probably just flow right through you. But then when you kind of make it and you have a business and responsibilities and stuff like that, then you can no longer come up with any bars.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like a rapper basically.
I've got a slight tangent question for you. Thoughts on pineapple and pizza?
Pineapple, yeah, I love that. I think that fruits go really well with cheese, and it makes perfect sense.
I've never understood the hate on pineapple and pizza.
I think there's just some people don't like the kind of texture of juicy pineapple with cheese, because they kind of like separate in your mouth kind of thing.
Yeah.
And also cooked fruits is I do actually believe that most fruits shouldn't be cooked, they should stay raw. So when we put fruits on the pizza at Oscar's, we put them on at the end.
Oh yeah.
But pineapple can cope with the cooking because it's quite strong and robust.
It is, yeah.
So it can cope with the cooking process. So I can understand why people don't like pineapple on pizza, but I think you can put anything on a pizza if it tastes like pizza at the end. Some of our customers say like, oh, can you put like fish and chips? They kind of ask me to mix their favourite foods with pizza. They want like a combination of their favourite foods.
Okay.
But I think that's kind of missing the point. You can't just put your favourite food on a pizza. You can put pretty much anything on the pizza, but it has to make sense and it has to still taste like pizza at the end. It can't taste like another food.
It has to complement each other.
They have to, yeah. Right? It has to be more than the sum of its parts.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
What's like the worst thing to put on it? Like absolutely no go.
The worst thing.
Yeah.
Apparently people are putting bananas on pizzas, and I haven't tried it yet. So I'm definitely. I'm definitely haven't tried it, so I can't really comment. But I'm pretty sure that wouldn't be good, and I'm pretty sure that no one would like it.
No.
And I'm pretty sure it wouldn't sell. So for me, that's an absolute no.
You would get a lot of customers complaining about that, I think.
Yeah.
Sure. So with customer feedback, how important is it in terms of changing your menus over time and kind of how the business evolves through customer feedback? What does that look like, that kind of process?
So when you take a pizza off the menu, people complain, and especially at the beginning stages, you want to keep everyone happy, so you kind of listen to people a lot, and you end up leaving that on the menu. So you bring in specials, and then if they're really popular, they stay.
Yeah.
And if if people just said, oh, that was great, and then they'll go away, and maybe we'll bring them back if people ask for them. And
I imagine you get a lot of regulars as well, right?
Yeah, we get tons of regulars. Yeah. I mean, food businesses are built like 70% on regulars, pretty much. There's so many people who intend on coming to Oscar's and have heard of Oscar's Pizza or just food business in general. But at the end of the day, it's the people who come like every week that really turns the dial. Yeah. And
that's what's really nice is you especially feel this sense of community with Cambridge as well, with this regulars and coming in, because it builds up reputation very quickly. And Cambridge, of course, is actually quite a small city, so you kind of get that sense of community a bit more. How important is community to you?
I think community is really important for me, really. Like, community is quite a broad term, but I think that I really care about, I really want to be useful in the community. I really want to be well known for making good food. I think that's kind of something that's fundamental to who I am. And if I was in a community big like Cambridge or small like, like a little village, I would be that guy kind of cooking away whilst everyone's partying or something like that. So I think that's who I am. And then from the other meaning of community, we've kind of worked with like with a charity for people with learning difficulties called Rowan, and they're like an arts charity. And we did a pizza box competition where they had to design a pizza box, and I went there to like meet them all and to kind of look at their designs, and they were all so happy and like absolutely buzzing that they got to design a pizza box. And the winner was like this amazing design, and she did this like pizza cat, and it was a cat that was like the colour of pizza, basically.
Yeah.
And it was just a really fun experience. And we did a similar thing with the design students at Long Road Sixth Form College. We did a design your pizza box competition, and we did a design t-shirt competition. T-shirt that I'm actually wearing now. I've brought a couple for you guys as well.
Oh, thank you.
No worries. And you just get some amazing creativity. It's also a really good opportunity to meet new creatives.
Yeah.
And also just get Oscar's name out there, because all the kids kind of go home and they say, oh, I did this thing for Oscar today, and then all the parents are like, oh, Oscars, and before you know it, everyone's heard of Oscars, and you've only done a few sort of collaborations with a few different like schools.
Spreads like wildfire.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Yeah. When you, especially with families as well, you're like, oh, they did this really cool activity. It stands out. It's like a cool kind of experience.
Yeah. I think every successful restaurant has to be integrated with the community on some level, and it pays back in massively. Yeah.
You just can't do that with chains, really. Not as much at least.
No, not really, because with a chain, you sort of there's the marketing centralised to one location, and the chains might claim to be part of Cambridge. You might get chains kind of like selling pizza, like serving pizzas off a pan when they first open or something like that. But at the end of the day, they're not a part of the community, and they don't really have anyone in charge of their marketing on a local level. So there's no way they can even pretend they are.
Yeah, and just not as much personality with chains like that, I think.
Yeah, and the bigger you are, the harder you fall, or something like that. The bigger you are, the more people that are kind of looking at you, and the less personality you can give, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You have every single I must be dotted. Things have to make perfect sense. A lot of big marketing companies will say like, oh no, this doesn't make sense, or everything becomes quite sort of boring and soulless. Even if you're trying to be fresh, it inherently isn't, because it's just too big and there's too many people watching, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's too big a machine. It's just
yeah,
I get it. I mean, you've been in Cambridge a long time, and you're leaving soon, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to Greece.
Yes, so I'm moving to Greece.
How do you feel about that?
It's a bit of a strange situation, really. I've planned on moving to Greece for a long time, because my girlfriend's Greek, and she wants to return home, and she has a nice life there, and fair enough, and I've always wanted to try to live in a foreign country. And one thing I was really hesitant about was, I've got this dream pizza business. Why would I leave it, if that makes sense?
Yeah.
And so I was I kind of decided that a few years ago. Like it kind of seems very strange now, because it's really taken off, especially after announcing that we've closed. That it's massively taken off, ironically. But I decided this years ago, and I was like, no matter what happens, I'm going to do my best with this business. I'm going to try and make it as big as possible. I'm going to try and just go all out, and even if I'm leaving, it doesn't really matter. So yeah, I've just gone for it, and it is a bit of an odd situation to have a dream business that's doing really well and then close it. But I just have so much confidence that, I'm local, I've been lucky, but at the end of the day, I've got all this knowledge and kind of drive that I'm going to take with me, and I feel like I'll be back at it in no time.
Yeah, and that's the knowledge and experience you get over the 5 years of setting up. I mean, you can apply that to anywhere, and you have a successful formula for this.
Yeah.
So I don't know how long you're going out to Greece for, but how long are you going?
I mean, I don't plan on moving back. Yeah. So for the foreseeable future.
And so you could apply that strategy to Greece if you want to set up your own business there. I don't know how it works in terms of.
I mean, yeah, that's the plan. Like, I don't know specifically what are the different, how the food business works there, like what the differences are. And but my plan is to go there and do a similar thing. I will no longer be local, but I'll be this English guy. Does English mean you make good pizzas? Not really. But I'll be, this guy who's kind of learning Greek and trying to integrate in with the Greek lifestyle, and learning a lot about Athens and things like that. So that's going to be my shtick, almost, is kind of learning Greek, learning how Greeks work, learning what Greeks like to eat.
Yeah.
I've thought about a tagline like discovering Athens, or discovering Athens style pizza. Like, Athens doesn't really have a style of pizza, and I could kind of come and say, like, I'm going to figure out what it is and kind of get to know what life's like in Athens and all that. So
It's going to be really exciting. I'm very jealous. Have you ever lived in another country before?
no, I have not.
Yeah.
I've been learning Greek as well, which has been a massive thing. So I've kind of spent quite a few years preparing. I've been learning Greek for like 7 years.
Yeah.
I don't think I've been learning that quickly because I still can't really speak Greek. Like, I can kind of hold a conversation, but people kind of get bored, they zone out. So I can't wait till I'm good enough at Greek to have aura again, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's similar. I'm trying to learn German at the moment, and it's those rough stages that he talks about. And I speak to someone who's also speaks German, and they're like, "What are you saying, mate?"
Yeah. You kind of need someone quite patient and almost charitable with you in order to practice, that's the hardest thing about learning a language as an adult, I think. But no, I've made a great start, and I've got like a foundation, and so I think I could.
Yeah.
I've done all I can, really. So.
Oh, I forgot to ask you as well. So you have a small crew with the pizza place. Yeah. So how's that looking with the rest of your crew and shutting down? How do they feel about that?
I think they were kind of sad at first because they were going to be out of a job basically, and so we most of our operation is out of the Blue Moon pub, and my head chef, who I worked with very closely over the last sort of 3-4 years, he's going to take over the business. So he's going to do his own pizza business at the Blue Moon, and he's keeping all the same staff. So I don't think anyone cares really,
Fantastic.
which is great. And they, I don't think they mind at all. And it's been really great as well having that solid team, because we've gotten so busy since I've announced that we're closing, and they've just been like absolutely smashing it. Like, they haven't complained once. They're doing such a great job, and they're all kind of, no one's leaving or anything like that. So it's really, I think it's quite a unique situation to have such a solid team. They've all got work at the end, and we're just smashing it at the end, if that makes sense. Whereas most businesses will start to fall apart.
It's a really good story to your business, a really good ending as well. So with a lot of cases where the unsuccessful businesses it dies down, but this one is you're going out with a bang, essentially.
Yeah, we're going out. Yeah, we're literally twice as busy some days than we were before. So it's been mega. It's a really unique situation, and I'm so grateful basically for everything that's happened, and it's been a dream.
Yeah, and that's also quite a good business strategy, announcing you're shutting down to get more popularity, then you keep going. A few years later, we're shutting down.
Yeah, like a sofa company, right?
Yeah, they're constantly on sales and shutting down sales.
I mean, I think that would be a bit dishonest to do that, but I did think when we were closing, I was like, why didn't we close before? Why didn't we think of something similar to this, if that makes sense?
Yeah.
Why couldn't, there's nothing. But at the end of the day, there's nothing more attractive than saying I'm leaving, if that makes sense, or you're not going to be able to have this anymore. That's what people just really like. So, but I just thought, can you not come up with something at least 25% as good as that we're leaving? Like, maybe we're going to stop putting cheese on the pizza soon.
Yeah.
So this is your last chance to get cheese, and then we'll bring back another different cheese that's the same. I don't know.
Yeah, if you take it out and then people realise what they're missing, and that draws them to it more.
Yeah.
And this is evidence with the shutting down.
There's a lot of psychology involved in marketing, and that wasn't, obviously, I didn't do that on purpose. I'm actually leaving, so.
Yeah. Well, brilliant. This has been really fun, Oscar. So we have one final question, and it's kind of a question. So this is going to be leaving to the next guest. What question would you have for them?
I actually haven't prepared this.
It's okay.
I have no idea.
That's all right.
Let me think. Who's the next guest? You can't tell me.
It'll be the king.
The king. So, all right, let's just pretend it's the king. So what? Yeah. So here's my question. what advice would you give to your kind of younger self, your 30-year-old self, or yourself that when you were starting out with your creative project or your business, what advice would you give them to keep them sane? Because I think it's quite easy to kind of like almost put yourself under too much pressure when you start something, and then you look back and you think, oh, actually I could have done that much easier, that I didn't need to worry about. What kind of advice would you give to your younger self starting out again?
It's funny that's a really interesting topic as well, because I think you have to kind of go through that experience to know that in hindsight as well. So it's a tricky one. You go through all this intensity when you're starting out, but because you've gone through that, that's how you learn. You've learned from it, from making that, you know.
Yeah, 100%. And also, what parts of the process? Because I'm really specifically want to know about the process. Let's say the questions for King Charles.
Yeah.
You know, what part of his job would have been so much easier had someone just intervened with him and told him to chill out, or you know, what parts did he not need to worry about, and what parts should he focus on more?
Yeah, that's great. Oscar, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much. Lovely to meet you, mate.
Lovely to meet you.
Thanks for having me on.
Thanks. It's been a pleasure. This has been Everything Cambridge.